I missed the last one in August. I was out. Calvin carried that one, so it's been a while since we talked. We have a few topics. I think probably an hour and 15 minutes total. Okay, so let's see. This is the agenda for today. At the beginning, we have the regular section update, membership, financial, etc. What is different, what is new for this call is nominating committee. Time is coming up where we need to find new candidates to fill some of the positions that are opening up in March. I'll go through in details. Then we'll have some updates for the ongoing activities, DWIS and VNV. Have a brief update from Robin about drill botics and the funding. Then we close with a debrief of the events, the networking session we had at the ATC, and the symposium that is coming up in March. So let's get going. So here are the numbers from SP's website as of the end of September. The bottom graphs really give the most accurate picture, I think. The green bars were slightly ahead of where we were last year at the same time, both for professional members as well as for student members, very slightly. So that's a good thing, but that's nothing. It's not special to DSATS. The whole SP and all the sections are following similar trends. So at the ATC meeting in New Orleans, when the year, let's say, finishes and the new year starts, it was similarly upbeat atmosphere, you know, the financial picture, the membership, etc. So clearly, you know, the society is in recovering from the pandemic, the low of the pandemic. Of course, there are issues that need to be worked out, and there is work in front of us for the sections and for the society as a whole. But all in all, I think we're on a positive path. The other graphs, what you see here, this graph here is a cumulative for the current year, so you cannot really compare to the total numbers of last year. We're still slightly behind. But these are full year 2023. This is up to September 24, same here. The conversions from student members to professional members, that's a good thing. That's a good sign. So if we have a healthy student population, hopefully some of those will convert to professional members. So that's a good trend as well. Other than that, this graph doesn't really change from month or from month to month. The three biggest sections are Gulf Coast, here North America, Middle East, and Africa. And that stays the same, the distribution. There are small sections all around, and now we have the structure in place with chairs all around the world, really, to help take advantage of that. That's something we can take advantage of and organize events in local conferences, etc., to promote DSATS. Okay, so for any questions up to this point for the membership? No? Okay. So the financial update, Robert couldn't make it today because he had some conflict, but he did prepare the slides. So there are a couple of points worth mentioning. One is that thanks to John McPherson, finally the PayPal account, we got access to it again. And Robert was able to transfer the funds that were there to the main DSATS account. So it's down to zero, and we're going to end up closing it. It was about 5 years. So again,
it's already closed.
Yeah. It's closed. Okay.
I closed it out. Yeah. Transferred it across. It's good to see the money actually got there.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that took a while, but finally it's done. So we'll see. I mean, with the board will decide how these funds will be allocated, etc. This is how the other accounts are, where they stand. The drill botics account is at 6K right now, and the DWIS, we don't have really any activity going on, some fees here and there, website, etc., trying to keep it above 500 to avoid paying fees. So I think there was a $100 transfer from the main account here to avoid the fees. But other than that, there is no activity here. We'll talk more about this when we talk about the WIS. There was an event, the networking event we had at the ATC. There were two donations. There are two sponsors, one from Sekal and one from Drill Dogs, Calvin. And of course, we had the tickets collected. So I don't have the update for this, whether it broke even, etc. I think it's close to breaking even, if not making a little profit. We'll cover more on how that event went as well at that section later. And this is the website that we use for the new DSATS website. So it's subscription, and yes, that we have to cover that in order to keep the website going. So that's it really for the finances. I don't know if there are any questions about that before we move to the next topic. Okay. So for the nominating committee, this is the time of the year, about 6 months before the elections, before the annual meeting, where we need to come together and start thinking who are the new people that will come in for any new positions. So for March, we have several positions that are opening up, and this is the 3-year, let's say, cycle since we started with the V2 initiative back in 2022. So at that time, we had a relatively large number of people that started new terms. And these are the people that are coming up for whose term is expiring, whether 3 years for officers or 5 years from board people, members. So there are 9 or 10 people total that are going away. So just a reminder for everybody. According to the Constitution, an officer can stay as an officer for up to 6 consecutive years, 3 years in one capacity and 3 years in another capacity. After that, they have to take a break. They cannot keep going, Board members can go for 5 years from the day they start. So some of the names here, they may have to take a break or they may have to change role. So the nominating committee will work all this out and will approach the candidate, the people one by one, see if they're eligible to continue, or if in what capacity, or if they're going away, who are the new people that will come in. Sasi kindly agreed to lead this nominating committee. Again, as a reminder, it has to be led by a board member and 2 active members of the society, but not officers, regular members. We haven't identified yet the 2 active members. We have a few names in mind, but Sasi will have to decide, who are the 2 other people. And that's it, really. The work will happen now, between now and the end of the year, essentially. It will be published to this meeting, to the board and officers, and approved, if you want, before it has to be published to the entire section. This has to happen about 45 days before the election, and people have up to 30 days before the election to come back with self-nominations if they want to be on a ballot, let's say. The meeting is going to be the Monday, usually before the drilling conference. In this year, it's going to be March 5, I believe, is a Monday. It's in Stavanger. So by February 5, we have to have all the names in. So we have to publish the nominations by mid-January, the second half of January, January 20 or so, So that's the timeline that we're working with. Essentially, this work has to be done now, before the end of the year, and published mid-January. Robert kindly has passed the blueprint to Sasi. Robert, you remember, he did most of the work 2 years ago when we went through a similar exercise about the process, some slides, a summary of the whole effort. So I appreciate that, Robert. Thank you. Sasi will take over, and he will give us an update, I suppose, in December, when we have the next board meeting. Any thoughts here, comments, questions?
Just a couple of quick comments, Demetrius.
Yeah.
John McPherson and John DeWart did a great job in helping out there. It wasn't all me. The other thing I'd note was in the membership, I think about 43% roughly of the membership comes from different kinds of oil companies, independent national oil companies and majors. And I wonder if Shashi can maybe have a look and see if there's a way of maybe incorporating more of those oil companies in the board or on the committee in general. That would help to maybe start to turn the thing. I don't know that the membership numbers there. I don't know the dynamics and the trends in terms of how fast those different sections are growing or segments are growing. Whether we're more input or active members from any particular region or regions growing, or sectors like oil companies, service companies growing. That might be an interesting one for future.
Yeah,
with an indication of where we're going and who is showing the interest.
Yeah,
which would help spin off who should be in the committees.
Yeah, I mean, those are good points. All those are good points, Robert. Thank you. I mean, in terms of what the different sectors, how they're represented in the membership, this is the graph, and it doesn't really change from month to month. It's pretty steady, the distribution, and service companies have always been the bulk of the membership. But
yeah, Demetrius, that's what got me right. The service company number there is 573, but if you total all the oil companies, it's something like 950 approximately, right?
Yeah.
So the oil companies actually outweigh the service and manufacturing segment, which really surprised me.
Yeah. Now, I don't have that same breakdown geographically, though, but it might be a good idea to see if we can achieve both objectives, balance it out, by sector and geographically as well at the same time. That's a good point for Sasi. All right. Anything else on these first three topics: membership, financials, and nominating committee? From anybody else? No. Okay. All right. So let's continue then. Now we can look into the updates from the subcommittees. Let me see here that we have online everybody we need. I'm not sure if Eric is here. I don't see Eric's name, but anyway, I can provide a brief update where we stand. So this should be DWIS, not DWI. Sorry for that. Okay, back to presentation mode. So Eric kindly provided a few slides for this update today. Let's give a minute or two to see if he joins. Otherwise, I will walk through the slides. But a couple of other points before we do that. We are planning to have a workshop, a DWIS workshop in Stavanger, the day after the drilling conference, after that Friday. after the Dreaming conference is March 9. The idea was there to take advantage of many of the people being in Stavanger, many of the interested parties being in Stavanger, and give them the chance to see, firsthand the demonstrations that Eric and the team are putting together. Those are going to take place, January, February, March. There's going to be more than one. And it will be good to repeat some of those or play back some of those for people when they are in Stavanger for the conference. So that's how it started, trying to get traction basically and momentum and maybe even donations and buy-in participation. Then it expanded to a full workshop rather than a demo. And by workshop means, in the last few calls, questions have come up. How do we transition from a proof of concept, which is what we are doing now, to a field trial? And more than that, what is the right way to implement this? How do we get industry participants to take it on? Is it the rig contractors that will be in charge of, providing this platform for interoperability? Is it going to be a third party? Is it a service company? Who pays for what? What are the risks? How do we share the risks? All these big questions that non-technical, I would say, that we have left, open. So no better opportunity to try to tackle some of those than when the group is together. And that's the plan for the afternoon of that Friday, to spend a few hours exchanging ideas and debating how do we do that? How do we go now from what we have, a demo, which is kind of in a clean environment, etc., to a field trial? How do we do that? What rig we do? Where? Who does what? And see how far we can go. The time has come to really make this next step and have a real world application rather than a demo. I think it's an opportunity. It's a turning point, really, if we manage to make this work. And there is no reason really not to work. We have now not both. We have OEM vendors for ADCS systems. We have contractors and we have operators on board, and several participants that develop advisor applications. So all the ingredients are there. We just have to have those discussions and work out not just the technical aspect, but also business aspect. Third bullet from Matt. He provided the update yesterday. He couldn't make today, like I said, because he's at the forum. So we have 2 new members on the advisory board. The advisory board, you remember, we put it together a couple of years ago to have industry stakeholders guide the activities of the technical subgroups. We started with 8 people, trying to mix up operators, contractors, and service companies. And now we're expanding this, trying to get more people coming in. And you see there, Matt is leading this effort, and really appreciate the energy that he puts into it. He has brought in a couple of contractors from Neighbors and Patterson. Tatiana is the new member from Neighbors, and Maury from Halliburton. So we have now enough voices in there, enough representation, and can always expand more. I'm not saying we're done, but the more the merrier, I think, because that shows, that the industry is getting on board. Now, the team that is already the active members, or the existing members, I should say, of the advisory board, they have been trying to put together a webinar, again, with Matt leading, to discuss the pain points that we're trying to address with interoperability. What is it that we're trying to do? Both from a contractor point of view and operator point of view, what is it that we're doing, why we're doing it, etc. And try to build the business case, if you want. And the idea was to have that panel as a panel discussion. And we were trying to use the webinar that we have the webinar spot that we had for November 1st. But when we talk to SPE, some of those strict rules that SPE has about commercialism, what names you can use and what names you cannot use, etc., the team felt that that was not the right platform to have that discussion, under all these constraints. So that didn't go through, but instead we're looking now to have that event under IADC and the drilling contractor platform. So Matt is working with the IDC team, and that probably is going to take place in January after the break. Because if we do it now, we feel that we're going to lose momentum and it's going to fade away with the break, with the holidays. So we're in the planning phase for this. It's going to be 4 or 5 people in the panel, again, representing different sectors. And that's going to happen in January, trying to promote basically this discussion. And it's going to set the stage, for the workshop in March in Stavanger. So that's kind of the high level update. Of course, there is a lot of work that Eric and Benoit are doing. I'll cover that next. If Eric is not here yet, I'll cover preparing for the demo. Just let's start. Let's go there, and we'll see if there are any questions up to this point before I continue. All right. So let's continue then. So you remember, just as a reminder for everybody. So this is going to be the second demo in this series. The first one, which happened in March of this year, was to prove the concept of advisors or actors, let's say, being able to plug in the network, in the rig network, and recognize what data is available out there, being able to consume that data without human intervention, as well as provide data back that everybody else can recognize and consume. So that was the idea, to automate, if you want, the ability to plug in and out actuators, sensors, or applications that can seamlessly integrate into the system. Now, that is a building block, it's a building step for interoperability, but it's not the full capability. And what does that mean? Full interoperability means when we started, it meant develop an application, an advisor, let's say, once, and deploy it everywhere. Basically, no need to have custom versions of these applications or this hardware that need to be bespoke, let's say, or custom as you go from one rig to the next. The idea is to develop, the hardware or the software once and deploy it everywhere. And now you have bridges or translators, if you want, that can work with the specifics of every rig where they're deployed. That's the objective for this next year's demo. Develop those advisors and have them plug and play and work properly in rigs where you have the Novos system underneath, or you have the HMH system, or you have the neighbors system, control system, etc., or Secal, or Aker BP, or whatever it is on the other side. So that's the goal for the demo of next year. And that's why I said there are going to be more than one demonstration. There's going to be one, probably the first one, where the simulator that Norse has will be the rig, quote unquote. So you have the DWIS layer on top of it and a bunch of advisors doing their function above that. Now, OpenWell is called the simulator. It simulates both the rig and the well. Next, take this layer from DWIS up and move it on top of a different rig where you have the Novo system and a different simulator for the well. And then take again that layer from DWIS up to a third simulator, AKBP simulator, and see how well all this works together. Do the advisors cooperate with each other, or they create a conflict? All these aspects, all these questions that are coming up, the idea is to bring them up during the demo, and not so that they can just talk to each other, but the whole system is stable and it doesn't create a train wreck. So it is an ambitious effort, and Eric and Benoit are spending a lot of time putting this together, and that's why the frequency of some of the meetings, the committee meetings, has reduced, because a lot of work really has to happen. But all that is going, overall is moving forward. There are some bumps in the way, etc. But we slipped a little bit from November that we were targeting originally to January. But that's a very small price to pay if we can make all these things work, and show the benefits. So that's a kind of a overview of what we're trying to do. And just here are the pictures explaining again what I just mentioned. So this is the green pieces are the DWIS layer, where you have, scheduler, composer, etc. Oh, sorry. Logging, etc. This is where the data is being posted and consumed from. These are the different versions, the different variations of ADCS system and drilling control system, whether it's a simulator in Norse or whether it's a rig from an OV or a rig from HMH or whatever. So the idea is that same green layer to be able to talk to every different setup out there, every different rig. And then on top, of course, you have all the components that plug in, advisors, it can be sensors, it can be actuators, it can be different things. That's the big picture. The different tasks that in the demo, what actually Eric and the team showed already in last year's demo was that when you go through a process, for example, you are drilling and you have a ROP optimizer running, and now all of a sudden you hit a stringer. Now the system has to change its priorities and its rules, etc. One advisor may have to drop off, and some other advisor has to take over based on rules that the operator sets up. So when you hit the stringer, it's not anymore about ROP optimization, but you have to follow a procedure to protect the bit, to go through the stringer without destroying the string, etc. And when you get out of the stringer, then again you reassign the priorities, and the ROP, for example, advisor takes over again. So all that was demonstrated in the last demo, and the advisors, they can be coordinated. One is coming in, one is falling out. We follow, the rules that are set by the operator. So that will continue in the next demo as well. There are, you can see here different tasks that have to happen. Not just go through a stringer, but how to tag bottom optimally, how you sequence the different actions, you schedule the different actions, etc. And the idea is not to just cover those cases in the nominal scenario when everything is fine, and you execute a sequence, let's say open loop. That's the easy part. But the idea is to be able to react when something goes wrong during a sequence or in the middle of a specific task. Now the system has to either go into a safe state or manage, let's say, the situation without raising the hand and throwing the ball back to the operator, which is one of the weaknesses, let's say, for automation that we have seen in the past with the situational awareness, etc. So the idea is to try to cover as many of these, let's say, abnormal scenarios as we can during the execution. And the demos will have some of these scenarios, when things happen, and we'll see how well the scheduler works, how it handles the plugging in and out of advisors, correctly, etc. So it's very interesting. The technical part of the work is extremely interesting, I think. We just have to get now the participation and the traction for people in the industry to see the value or to confirm that there is value in all this and move it to a field trial. So you can see in the slides here, the different pieces. Eric has gone into the details. What are the different controllers? You may have an auto driller for ROP or for pressure. You may have, I don't know, MPD. You may have a whole cleaning advisor, etc. And the different procedures, how you start the pump, how you break the gel, when you have to downlink to the RSS, how you make sure that this doesn't interfere with the whole cleaning, for example, or managing the pressure in the well, etc. And of course, you're constantly throughout all this, the system is monitoring for abnormal things, getting stuck, overpull, pack off, over torque, etc. So it's a pretty complete setup that the team has built, and I think it takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of work. It has become the biggest initiative in DSATS, but I think the value is there if we, of course, manage to keep it practical and manage to convince the industry to take a close look, and participate, both funding and adoption. All right, so I don't have really much more to add. I think I explained what is in the slides already. Covered that. Eric, he has here, the three ADCS systems that we're gonna, the different demonstrations, Novos, Deal. This is the one from HLBP. Oh, sorry. The participants include HLBP, Halliburton, Baker, Sekal, and Petrobras. Those are the contributors that come in with advisors that plug on that top layer, this up here. This is the same picture as we saw earlier, just more details about the different versions. Any questions from anybody? I know this is a big topic, but I'll be happy to answer as much as I can, and I'll ask for help, John and the others. I can't, if there are questions in the chat, I can't really monitor, but if you can speak up here, that would be good.
Yes, a quick question. Where is the directional drilling included in this?
This is going to be an advisor. The well placement is going to be one of those advisors up here that is reading data from the blackboard, inclination, azimuth, depth, the well plan, etc., makes its decision, and then it passes back a recommended setting for the rotary steerable tool, or if you have a motor, whether you need to slide or rotate, etc. So it's an advisor. The well placement is one of those actors up here that it may have the highest priority or it may not, depending what's happening in the well, Does that answer the question?
Yes.
Yeah. Andre.
Hey, my question is, I've been working this in different fronts, and how do you think is the best approach? Because I do not have a clear answer. What is our best approach in order to just get the correct interaction between the industry? Because this is a great effort, but if we don't have the industry working together with us or having the solutions being open to that, I've seen some participants not adhering 100%, or what do you think this group should do in order to have more agreement? Because we cannot have like something like, okay, we're going to have like on this system, we're going to have different things, but thinking more about the industry, not as an operator, service contractor, or OEM for the drilling equipment. What is the vision? How can we try to? I don't have an answer, but
that's a good question, Andre. I'll share my thoughts on this, and I'm not claiming to cover or answer the question completely. First point I'd like to make is that here in this effort, up to today, and I think going forward, the objective was to not to solve a problem completely, but to provide a platform, if you want, or a stage that will make things easier going forward for the participants. What does that mean? It means that we're not trying to flatten the field completely and make everybody equal. Still companies will be able to come in and have and maintain a competitive advantage. If they have a smart algorithm that is proprietary, they will be able to keep that and not make it open and share with everybody. But and we're not trying to take that away from them. But what we are trying to do is to make sure that this algorithm can be plugged, let's say, into a system and work without having to spend 3 days, of calibrations and removing one set of sensors and wires and putting in a new set of sensors and wires. That creates inefficiency for the whole industry, for all of us together, collectively. And it hits the bottom line of us. It makes us uncompetitive compared to alternative sources of energy, etc., in the long term. So we need to work on that efficiency as an industry without removing the competitive advantage that each one of us bring in. So that's the first point. The second point is that, how do we convince people to come in? I think people as a whole, the whole industry, in my opinion, that's just me speaking, we're focused very much in the short-term operations and activities and profits and how to maintain market share, etc. And we're not thinking long-term, as an industry, how do we maintain that same competitiveness and that same advantage? The decisions that we need to make to keep the short-term, let's say, profit or market share, etc., are not necessarily the same decisions that you would take if you were thinking 10 years down the road. So to me, it's important to extend that time horizon and think how to maintain that edge and competitiveness longer term. And if we manage to, it's a matter of putting the effort. In my mind, the answer is clear. There is efficiency to be gained here. Yes, the development of this technology here is going to cost money. To deploy it is going to cost money. But if you run it long enough, correctly, it's going to save you money in the long term. That's my position. That's my belief, and that's why I push for this. Can we put the numbers behind this so others can come on board? That's the challenge, really, that we're facing. And if we don't spend the time to see where we are bleeding money today by the hidden downtime of, commissioning, decommissioning, calibration, decalibration, maintaining 10 different versions of software, that comes with a cost. And if we cannot capture the cost and see it, and face it right in front of us, then it's going to be difficult to make the case that this is going to save money. But hopefully, some people will see the value of this and put the numbers behind it. And in the workshop, hopefully we can start or make a small step forward. But I think that's really where the roadblock is. It's not the technology. Is making clear the business benefits of this technology. So I know that maybe it's a little bit broad answer that I give you. I don't know. I don't have a better answer at this point. If anybody else wants to add something for this discussion, please. Paul, please.
Yeah, so I've been sitting here thinking that the issue I believe here is you need a user, pick at least one, and that's an operator, contractor, a couple of service companies that need this service that can act as, I'm going to call them the guinea pigs, but it's the test case. And we support it as an industry because we know that it is going to be useful for all of us in the end. But you start with someone to commit, and that's, they can see the value in it and can make it real. Otherwise, it just becomes kind of a paper exercise. So yeah. Anyway, my thought is let's see if we can't sign up a operator, a contractor, a a number of service companies, whoever needs to be in there, that actually want to work that particular problem together. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Thank you, Paul. Eric, please.
Yes, sorry for being late. Didn't see the start of the discussion, but I can mention, compared to what Paul said, that there is an operator in Norway which has a plan for the next 3 years, which is exactly this, to put together whatever is the necessary test, both on first on a test rig and then in an actual rig in the North Sea in 2026. So 2025 will be demonstration on Ulrich, and then 2026 on a field in the North Sea. So there is a plan with someone being the guinea pig, trying to implement that.
Yeah,
Okay.
excellent. I think that is exactly what's required to move it forward. So anyway.
John, I think you have your hand up. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, just on what Paul and Eric were saying, I think the thing to realize here is what DWIS has worked on, the components. They morph a little bit when they go into, say, a drilling contractor's environment or a service company's environment. And although the interoperable piece, different advisors coming on from different companies not being exercised, the overall structure is there on people that have commercial systems out there at the moment. And we're participating because we see the ability to change our approach slightly and to take advantage of what DWIS has come up with. So to a certain extent, in parallel to what DWIS is doing, there's actually pieces of this are being exercised, if you like, in actual systems that are out there right now. Yeah. So it's not as if this is all one exercise that's completely separate from the industry, and then later on we will come out and move it across. It's being exercised now, and if we found a piece that didn't work, we'd be screaming.
Yeah.
That, hey, this piece needs to be dropped. The only piece that's missing is the top layer there, with different companies delivering different pieces onto one job. At the moment, it's very monolithic, one company delivering those pieces onto one job. Yeah.
Eric?
Well, I just want to supplement what John said, that actually each of those green boxes, which are in the middle, individually actually useful. And if you want to use them, just use them. If you want to create that into your workflow, independently of DWIS, just do that. I think that next week I will turn the drilling process state interpreter to be completely open source. At the moment, it's available in DWIS, but private. But I think the version that I have from next week will be sufficiently good enough actually to be made completely open. And then each of those boxes will turn to be completely open source. And then if you want to use the code or use it as a reference for your own implementation, you're welcome. And also the other thing is, I've noticed is that because of the work that we've done on DWIS, there are new things we can do which we couldn't do before. So we can actually do much more things in terms of, one of Rodika is on the call, verification and validation of ADCS, for example, through the ADCS capability description, which wouldn't have been possible if we have not done all this work on the ADCS capability description. So there are the ultimate goal, which is interoperability, and there are some side effects which are quite immediate, actually.
Yeah. Thank you, Eric. Just when you say it's going to be available, Eric, you mean how? In open source drilling community or OSDC, or how do you?
So that would be directly from the DWIS GitHub. So
Okay.
there is just a change of flag actually to say that instead of being private, it will be public. But the whole source code is more or less in a good shape, and I think within a few days now, where I will turn it to be public. So then anyone can use it. But we have seen also, so talking about open source and the open source steering committee that Paul has been quite instrumental to work with.
Yeah.
I've been contacted a couple of weeks ago by some people from Ukraine saying, well, we are implementing a new drilling software and things, and we are using the code, which is an open source steering committee, which was like, okay, that's interesting. But we didn't know. And then they were asking some specific questions. So as soon as we turn to be public, so we have no idea what the code will be used for. And it can be useful for many people without us being notified.
Okay, thank you, Eric. I went through the slides. I'm not sure if this is the last one or no. If you have something.
Yeah, there's a next one, I guess. If you copy the slides, yes, and that has to do with the practicality of the demonstration. So we have different companies at different places. So we have Petrobras in Rio, we have Baker Hughes in Celle, Aker BP together with Halliburton in Stavanger and Sekal in Stavanger. But so to be able to do the demonstration without having to be confronted with a lot of problems for installing things at the right place. So we've developed a system of replication for the blackboard, which means actually through internet HTTPS protocol. So all the blackboards installed locally at the different places will synchronize themselves with the master blackboard, for example, installed at North. And that is a very flexible way to work for such a complex demonstration that we try to put together, both in the preparation of the demonstration and also for the actual demonstration itself, without having to invest a lot of time. And I can tell you, having companies change their firewall rules is like almost impossible. So that was almost a necessity to be able to get something working properly. And then we developed the Davis display server, which is an essential part for the demonstration, so that everybody who would be online can open a website, and then in this website they can see the live data which are going through the demonstration, and can inspect the different pieces that will be presented. There are many pages into this web application with all sorts of details on the different parts of the Davis demonstration nitty-gritties. So that's also another important aspect for helping people to understand what will be going on through the demonstration. One important thing, so if you go to the next slide, so there's an example of maybe not very talking at the moment, but it's a microstate interpretation engine in probabilistic mode, which shows in a way whether you believe or not into which state it is detected. And this is represented depending of the binary, or if the state is binary or ternary, either with a rectangle or a triangle, and with a cursor or dot in the middle, which indicates the probability where it thinks actually you're in the state. Yeah. So the other thing, which I don't know if you have mentioned that, but no, all 3 demonstrations are pushed to January, February. I was intending to have a demonstration end of October, beginning of November, but we realized that the setup of Aker BP didn't allow us actually to have any communication externally to Aker BP or through the internet, and therefore that would be a very blind demonstration, and that would be not very worthwhile. So they are changing their setup, and that will be ready by January, February. So that's why actually the 3 demonstration will be in January and February. So sorry for the delay, but that's again going back to these difficulties that we have with all these firewalls rules and the things that we need to accommodate with. Yes, and then you can go to the next line. I think that's the publications. So yes, so the last news is that actually the paper that was written with John and Dimitrios and Moray and Fred on the training process state interpretation engine has been accepted for publication in SP Journal. I think I wrote wrong. It's not SP Training Conclusion because it doesn't exist anymore, but SP Journal. It will be available very soon. I've done the last check on the from the SP publication side, so I think it will be available online very soon. It's quite different from the paper which was published in 2023 for the conference. So and it will be available in open access, so you don't need to pay anything to get access to it.
Yes, to clarify this point here, NORS covered the fee for this open access. So thanks to NORS and to you, Eric, for paying that. And so the whole industry basically can see this without having to worry about, making copies, passing a copy to my colleague, etc. The idea here is to hopefully make it a milestone paper that people can refer to and use again and again and again. And that, together with having access to the code through the state interpretation, hopefully that will make it too easy for people to stay on to get involved and not stay in the sidelines.
And just for the fun fact, actually, so there is a number of word limitation for SP Journal articles, which is 10,000 words, and know-how document is 12,000 words, so we managed to break the wall. And in addition, there is a supplementary material, which is 20 pages. So actually, we are probably breaking many walls with this paper in terms of limits that the SP is imposing. Otherwise, there was a presentation of the results from the demonstration from 2023 at the SP ATC meeting in New Orleans. That was a paper written together with our colleagues from Halliburton, from SECAL, from Aker BP, and from SLB. So I intend though to try to submit it as for the SP journal as well, so that we can have, if that goes through the peer reviewing process, so maybe we have the same reference document there. And then we have two abstracts that I've submitted for the SP Training Conference in Stavanger, which has both been accepted. So one with Baker, with John and Hans Uwe, and Jan Kåre and Serafima from Exavenus, which is about the online classification of drilling activities, which is using the Bacchus-Naur formulation. And then another paper with Halliburton and with Aker BP, which is about the automatic code generation for automatic drilling control system functions with embedded verification and validation functionalities. And there is a link actually with the work that Rodica is doing in her subcommittee. And this last paper is actually what I mentioned earlier, that these results wouldn't have been possible without the work that we did on Davis on the ADCS capability description. And the whole point is actually you can generate automatically the ADCS itself from the ADCS capability description and be sure that the automatic generation is verifiable and it's coded in a way which is interpretable. That's all I had.
Very good. Thank you, Eric. I think we can move to the next topic here, which is the update from Rodica on the verification and validation. And I know we spent too much time here, but it's a big topic, and that's why. So Rodica, it's up to you.
Thank you, Dimitrios. I have 2 slides which I took. I have taken them from the early stage of the verification and validation subcommittee, and this is just to remind you about what we have decided to have as our first goal in the committee, because there were many discussions of the presentation in New Orleans, and several who have taken contact with me. So the mission here is, if you just, I think there is an animation. If you just click 2 times, so when we started this working on the charter for this subcommittee, so what we have as our mission was that to increase awareness and understanding of the relevance for verification and validation in drilling systems automation. And we are not focusing on monolithic type of architectures. We are focusing on this multi-agent type of architecture. If you could take the next slide, please, Dimitrios, because I have more text on that one just to explain. And the goals that we set, because this is a huge topic, and the goals that we set for us in the beginning was to look at the definitions which will fit this framework of multiple automated functionalities, provide some glossary, what we mean by this, by verification and validation, and also look into investigate and define, if possible, a conceptual form or framework for formal verification of consistency in data and features in this framework of complex drilling automation system or systems of systems coming from different providers. So there is one more click if you can take, just to make it completely certain that we are on the same topic when we discuss about this. So the goal of the subcommittee is not to qualify the different advisors or models in this complex system. The focus is on the interplay between these different systems. And based on this work that we have done, we submitted a paper, and we had a presentation in New Orleans. If you can take the next slide. Thank you. The paper was titled Advancing Online Verification and Validation in Complex Multi-Provider and Drilling Automation Systems, and it's together with several people in the group, in the subcommittee. And the focus was on topics that I already mentioned. So it was on exploring verification and validation to enable multi-provider distributed automated drilling control. So basically, when one doesn't do explicit integration of those systems under one entity. So we are not talking about monolithic type of architecture. Of course, I mean, results from this work can be useful in monolithic type of architectures. This is not something that we can control. So if someone wants to use some of these results for their own monolithic type of architecture, it's fully possible. That's why we want to publish. But the focus here in the group is on this distributed type of systems. And then in the paper, we also have some examples and small examples of some of the current practices, and most of those are in integrated systems or belonging to one provider. We also analyze some different definitions for verification and validation from different domains, and also identify some specific needs that needs to be addressed for the drilling domain. And we also share some initial conceptual framework to support this work in the paper. So if you take the next slide, please, Dimitrios. This is based on the presentation, and you find more into the paper, which is published. This paper is conference papers and is behind the SPU wall. But we also want to consider to submit it to a journal and possibly open share if it's accepted. So the aim is to investigate how to evaluate the status of this complex distributed drilling automation system continuously online. So we are talking about no a priori integration under one system, so it's fully distributed. And also something which we have been focusing a lot in the discussions and also in the paper, we talked about it, is that this architecture is not fixed. Some of these automated functionalities can become unavailable or replaced by others on the fly. So that's why we are talking about dynamic or online verification and validation processes. And if you can take the next slide, Demetrios. No, I took more slides because you told me 10 minutes today. So I'm using the full 10 minutes. And then we have addressed some questions that we believe are important for such a framework for online verification validation to answer to in the context of these complex drilling automation systems. And some of those are how to enable the possibility to define dynamic requirements, because it's one thing to say that we might allow dynamic requirements, but how can we define them? And I will come back to that at the end of the short status. How to continuously evaluate the status of available communication between different automated agents, how to monitor and map possible delays and synchronizations issues, how to map correlations and dependencies, gaps in information flows, self-evaluation of dynamic verification and validation, and how to basically automatically assess the stability of the system. So all these are considered when we introduce this framework. And if you take the next slide, I just want to underline, so the framework that we came up with is a very simple one, but it's focusing on aspects related to the environment being unstructured, such as drilling, is a real-world environment, serious safety risks, and the overall context is an open context. What does it mean? It means that we cannot define all possible test scenarios. Sometimes we need to address situations which we haven't seen before. So how to do that? This is similar to automated drive autonomous cars, which is also an open context. So also the local context is developing in time. And as I mentioned, the architecture is not fixed, and we need to consider that. And sometimes we'll have multiple agents, multiple of these systems might depend on each other, and these dependencies needs to be captured in order to assess stability. And I have just one example just to show you, and if it's of interest, you can go to the paper. If you take the next slide, Demetrios. So the framework basically looks like, so I have been talking before on this input data required feature, output data and provided feature, so I will not go into the details there, but it's basically a set of attributes based on the graphical image that is here. And this set of attributes is representing input and output data, input and output features, that one system relies on and one system provides. And also we added the heartbeat signal that a system provides at all time in order to assess availability. And the next slide, thank you. And we also added to the set of attributes a set of requirements, a possibility to add some requirements, some of fixed requirements, which will need to be followed throughout the entire process. But also we allow for these dynamic requirements dependent on the current context of the complex system. As I said, some might disappear, might appear, and so on. And some requirements might not be relevant in certain situations, and how to handle that. So we also wrote a bit in the discussion section of some of these issues. And if you go for the next slide, some of the topics that we are currently discussing during the last meetings are also based on the discussion section that we have in the paper. And it's a lot about discussing about these dynamic requirements, because if we allow for dynamic requirements, because we see the need for that, it also brings certain challenges to the picture. So we have been discussing back and forth. This is not a large group in the subcommittee. It's a small group, but the participants are very active, so we have very good discussions. Another part which I haven't mentioned so far, and we haven't addressed in the paper yet, this paper, but we are currently working on, is how to enable automated computation and inference to define automatically these attributes that we have in the framework. And to what extent these attributes can be defined with such automated processes, automated computation, and what information actually needs to be defined by the provider itself. So this is currently something that we are looking into. And we are also discussing to find the relevant case where we can apply this framework and to do an analysis, what is missing, what can be improved, and so on. So this was, I hope I didn't exceed my 10 minutes. So if there are any questions.
Thank you, Rodica. I think you did a good job, to cover such a big task on 10 minutes, you know, and the slides will be available for people to revisit and see. Any questions from anyone for Rodrigo before we move to the next topic?
Yeah, I have a question. I was listening and trying to figure this out, how it fits in with what's done now. And typically the VMV operation is before a job starts, right? And here you seem to be looking at VMV operation while a job is going on, and suddenly this player comes in that wasn't planned to come in, and he affects the validity or the stability of the system. Is that correct?
Yes, it is correct. So this is a technical perspective, which we I need to emphasize this. But it's just to open for the possibility of having this plug and play. So it's correct.
Okay, so you're saying that plug and play actually occurs in the middle of a job without knowledge that it would occur before the job started, which is a little bit increases the risk level tremendously.
Yes, but there is also something else which is an exception. For instance, we have been talking about this heartbeat signal. Let's say we have. Let me give you an example.
Right.
So I will not use a lot of time.
That's
so
fine.
if you have a fixed architecture, you have, I don't know, 5 players delivering 5 systems there. And then you have a certain dependencies between system number 2 and 3. And suddenly, so system number 2 is dependent on system number 3. And suddenly system number 3 sees that I don't get enough input data, so I cannot function properly at 100%, but they can still provide some advice into the rest of the system. So one extreme situation is when number 3 cannot provide anything, and suddenly you are left with number 2, which cannot work properly. So this is not something that we have planned for, but it's something which happens. So how can one detect these inconsistencies to send a flag? Now something is wrong. Ideally, you would also like to say something about what is the cause of that inconsistency. So it doesn't have to be only from the point of intentionally I remove one player and add another one. It can be because of some failure, and you are faced with that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I see where you're coming from now. Thanks.
And thank you for the question.
All right. Very good. Thank you, Rodrigo. This is important, you know. And I think the last point that you made is you hit the nail on the head, you know. It doesn't have to be completely random with things coming in and out, but things fail. And we cannot afford, you know, when anything goes wrong for the system to collapse. I think that has to be covered, that scenario, because it happens all the time, the way we work today. And whether a sensor goes away or an actuator or a valve gets stuck or whatever, the system has to be able to react without, you know, dumping it on the operator the last minute, and then we have the disasters that we have, you know. Very good. Okay, let's move to the next topic, guys. Thank you, Rodrigo.
Thank you.
The next one is an update on the drill botics. And I know we have here Enrique. I'm not sure if information Enrique has to share, but I talked to Robin yesterday, and he provided this update. So he's pursuing the effort, you know, through SPE to get funding through SPE for 2025. So Robin talked to the CFO, who agreed to add 25K in the budget for 2025. So it's in there. But this is not to cover the travel expenses of this year's competition next year. This is rather to run the program in 2025 going forward. This year we're still kind of in a limbo and we haven't started, so it may become a 2-year cycle, this one, or a year and a half if you want it. Where it stands right now is to get the formal approval from the CEO, SPE CEO or president to confirm that money. And after that, Robin said that we need to or SPE we need help from them to create marketing material that will distribute through the website, our website, DSATS, Drillbotics, etc., as well as SPE's website and through social media to get more attention, let's say, to the program. So it's a short-term solution, if you want, for a year to get us funding. But we need really to continue looking at the options that we have mentioned, you know, involving some corporations for a 3 or 5 year engagement, etc. So that's where it stands right now. I don't know if Enrique, you want to add something to that?
No, this is great news. I have not heard about this news, but we have had a lot of students reaching out, asking about us if the competition is going to be moving forward or not. We also have interest from Texas A&M and some other universities in the States. This is great. I believe Fred is also on the call. Fred, what are your thoughts about this? This is great news for us.
Yeah, we got a new one this morning from Montana State. So
Okay.
there's a number of teams saying, what are the rules for this year and will there be a this year? We haven't answered that question for them yet.
Yeah. Hopefully, I think Robin expects in the next few days, a week, maybe, to have some final answers on this, you know. So we will be able to get back to the students and with some feedback, you know, to re-put, if you want, the effort.
We need sponsors or we're going to die. It's that simple.
Right.
And
This is John. I mean, we have the funds in DSATS to support this, so I'm a little bit. I mean, the money's just sitting in the DSATS coffers, huh? We're not just using it for very much. And like I've said before, I think as robotics would be the prime users for that for those funds. I mean. That's my feeling here anyway. I don't see why we don't just say, hey, let's go ahead and fund this stuff. If Robin manages to get the money through from SB, then great. But I think we should agree to go ahead next year.
Okay. I mean, if the board is, I mean, the spending this is going beyond what the chair can approve, John, as you are aware, you know. So if the board is on board, then fine.
I just put it out for send it around the board, get board approval, and then move on it. Okay. And if it's you know, if Robin gets the money, then we don't need to take it out. But
yeah,
if he doesn't get it, then everything's funded for robotics.
No, you still need the money to get the students to Stavanger next year. And I'll tell you what I'll do, Demetrius.
So again, please, Fred. I'm sorry, the last sentence.
I'll tell you what I'll do. The German team previously rented a van or used a school van, and they drove to Stavanger and had accommodations there and back. And so I can look and see what that budget was, and I can talk to them about if there have been any increases or not. It's going to be under $10,000, and we got $6,000 in the bank. Okay. So it won't be a big pain. It will require board approval, but it's not.
Robin was kind of clear. He said, don't commit yet to the students, but, you know, information is, I mean, get information, be ready to get going when this is finally confirmed, you know. So, yeah, I suggest we talk to them, get the information.
But the confirmation from Robin is required because we don't have an official program for the 2024-2025 contest.
Yeah.
There's nothing out there for you to register to yet.
Yeah. I think Calvin has a question or a comment.
Yeah, it was more of a, both. So with the symposium in Stavanger and the students potentially coming and maybe having some, it sounds like a good chance to look at the marketing, maybe do some marketing, get some footage for the marketing of the event of DrillBox, using the symposium and the students there. But then also to John's point, talking to Acker and Equinor, et cetera, Norse with Eric's help, to see if any of the Norwegian majors would be willing to sponsor and put their name to it, because it seems like the real passion sits in Norway right now, and they are altruistic enough and sharing enough to to help out other universities. So we might look to them to be the powerhouse for this.
Yeah, I mean, anywhere that we can get support for the program, that is welcome. Okay, thank you, Calvin. Any other? Mark?
Can I just say one thing? When I get emails from these students saying, I just had an interview with Baker or Weatherford or so-and-so, another one says, I'm now a vice president with this company. We've got a third generation team coming on that they're new, but their sponsor was there in Canada last year, and that was sponsored by the professor who came through the program at UT. So these guys are really excited about this stuff.
Yeah, Mark.
When we hit this, we got to find a way to capture that excitement.
Mm-hmm. Mark, go ahead, Mark, please.
Yeah, as a board member, I'm in favor of spending some of the DSATS money on the robotics effort. And I think you just make a quick poll, Demetrius, and we get the money together and we move it forward while Robin is looking at SPE funding.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, Mark. Andre? Who can't hear you, Andre?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought I would like to discuss more in depth about the scope of what we are going after robotics, because the way it is right now, it's quite hard to someone new to jump in and to have, it's quite a challenge. And for instance, the winner of, we had a tie, but it was clear that one has done much more engineering than the other group. And if we have to better discuss and sit down maybe to have something that is a project that is feasible to be done in 1 year, so you don't have a group that's going to be always in the front of others, and you don't have, you have like a 1 year push, then the students. So I would like more discussion about whenever possible, if the rest of the group think it's good. Or else we're going to always have the same cards, the same universities, because they already have this structure, they already have, as Calvin said, the passion, but maybe the passion is the challenge is too big. Why I'm going to join it if I have a German university with over $50,000 of equipment and thousands of hours of invested over there.
Yeah, very valid point, Andre. I mean, we have identified this and we're trying to address it by splitting in group A, group B. One group is hardware, where it's more expensive. The other one is mostly software. So
even the hardware, I would try to ask, okay, is this what we want? What is the real challenge that we want? Like, the group from Germany was very good, and the group from Canada was basically saying, okay, we just restarted everything up and it runs more or less. And the group from Germany, they developed a lot of new things. Some things I would say were from the standpoint from the drill engineer view, I would say, okay, it's interesting, but it's more like a student action rather than something that is applicable. I saw much more things on Group B that were applicable than Group A, but so I think it's worth the merit of spending some time, like have a brainstorm, okay, what we think about it, if we want these to grow. Yeah. Because I believe that we want these to be not only for developed countries, so it cannot be only from Canada, USA, Norway, and Germany. If it is from these countries, then there's no point of running that for the second slide on every meeting. Oh, we don't have more members. So maybe we could try to play and identify, okay, what is a real challenge that's going to benefit us, that's going to make the students' interest in something this kind. So.
Okay, very good. Mark, you have another comment? No? Okay, maybe goes later.
No, I just,
Sure, no problem. All right, so I think that covers the activity updates. So now the last section, we have only a few minutes left, is about upcoming events. So before we go to the symposium here, Serafima will kind of walk us through. I'm just going to mention a few words about the ATC event that we had in New Orleans. So Mori and John DeGuard put that together the last 3 months before the 2-3 months before the event. The neighbors, Subodh, came and he was the keynote speaker. It was a very good keynote speech. No slides, but he covered very well, I think, the topic of, the technology for automation, the cultural aspect, why people are resisting, what are the benefits for the companies. I think it's good to try to capture this and put, summary of that on the website. I think it was that good, Apart from that, the financial, we had about maybe 50 or 60 people that showed up, and all those were kind of ticketed attendees. So we may have created a little bit of a profit for DSATS. We'll know the numbers after SPE and Greg gets back to us. All in all, it turned out good, even though it was put together with a short time. Now, okay, let's move to the next event. Serafima, maybe you can walk us through.
Yeah, I didn't prepare like a lot of slides. I think I was updating also last time. So we continue to plan the event which will be in March, the symposium. And I think, as I was mentioned earlier, we are planning to invite outside speakers. Right now, the 3 speakers has been defined, and we're waiting for the last one to confirm. So once that's done, then we'll be able to publish the program and to have it available. So here, what you can see here, it's more to the discussion of the preliminary budget, how we plan to keep the prices on the same level as before, around $65 for the initial registers, and then for later registration a little bit higher. We will, of course, seek the sponsors, but for that we need to finalize our program completely. Also, we are thinking to actually maybe provide a live streaming in the last moment, as we did, I think, a couple of years ago. So we checked some local vendors. I think it will be around $5,000, but we will need to find some sponsorship for that to cover before we agree. So here you could see this is the on top part. That's the income that we could be able to have, and then at the bottom, that's our expenses. Some of them are still not defined because SPE hasn't confirmed yet which venue they will use, if that will be the one where the conference is itself, or if it will be in the hotel nearby. And based on that, there will be some dependencies, I think, on the waiters, if they are provided or not. So that part, I think, could be as kind of the expense that would devote it. So, but if you could see here, like the preliminary, how it looks like, I got confirmation actually also on the technician. It will be even a little bit cheaper. I haven't included the live streaming because that's that we're not still. We need to confirm to get some sponsorship for that. But I included the banquet, or like coffee, drinks, and so on. And I also assume that we will have the servers, but I believe that 2 years ago in Stavanger Forum, the waiters were for free for that banquet, or provided by SPE. So we didn't have to cover them. So that would define a little bit if we'll be in plus or in minus. So so this is how it looks now. Also, the speakers. One is the speaker is based locally. One of the speakers is based in Trondheim. And one is based in East Norway. I hope they can provide the travel in himself, but there could be, but it's an internal Norwegian flight, so it shouldn't be.
Who are those speakers, Serafima? Can you share that?
Yeah, sure. Well, so the ones that confirm, we will have a professor from NTNU, Konstantinos, I think his name. He's in Eric. You could maybe even say even more about him. He's in charge of automation projects in. Yeah, Eric, maybe you could say better on his scope of work because you were working together.
Yeah, so he's working with autonomous robots, and we can do some explorations in unknown environments. So I think that's quite interesting as a parallel. And he has been a part of a team participating to a DARPA competition for exploring subterranean undergrounds, discovering into caves and things like that. So that's what his background.
Okay.
Yeah. The other speaker is we want to it's a CTO of Kongsberg Maritime. Kongsberg Maritime, it's a group which is in charge of a lot of actually activities even for the offshore rigs, positioning, providing software there. But they also, one of their projects is autonomous ships. And I think one of them is or I don't know, maybe a few are used already in Norway as a ferry or between certain locations. So basically they have completely autonomous ships operated. And the speaker, if the marketing department is almost confirmed, but the speaker itself still is, we're waiting for the final confirmation. But he has also worked with some underwater devices, like to exploring, seabeds and related to that. So it will.
There is a question from Calvin, please.
Sure.
Yeah. Hey, just the format, the time, what time, how long?
The format is it's 3 speakers. Each of which will be presented for 25-30 minutes, and then Q&A session after so that everybody can ask the questions. Which the idea is that there will be parallels, right, to our industry. So to ask how things are done and So
sorry, I meant more the like 5 to 7.
It's 1 to 5. 1 to 5, Calvin, for the annual meeting of the DSATS, the election, etc. Then a break. Then 2.5 hours for your panel discussion, etc. And then networking from 5 to 7.
Oh yeah.
Typically, that's a
sorry,
timing.
the schedule. Yeah, it's 1 to 5.
But we plan 1 hour per presenter, so and they can split themselves whether they want to use 30 minutes or 40 minutes for a presentation and the rest for the Q&A.
Yeah. And the third speaker that confirmed, it's actually from dairy industry. They have automated dairy plant in Stavanger area, which was recently built, and they're also implementing AI technologies there to optimize their dairy production. So we have actually a speaker from there who will share his knowledge on this, on what they're doing there. So more production automation. So
right.
Thank
you, Serafima. And with that, we kind of run out of time. There is more to be work to be done here, clearly. Hopefully in the next month or 2, we're going to have more details. And I think Serafima and Eric they have it under control. So the next call is going to be a month from now. It's going to be a community call. We have skipped the last 1 or 2 of those because we didn't really have enough material to present. I think we can have this one and explain to the community what's going on with the demos of the DWIS and the VNV, and hopefully we have enough to fill the hour and keep interest up. Any closing comments or questions from anyone before we close the call? Okay, Thank you everyone for attending, and talk to you later. Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.